Hello everyone and welcome to the channel. I'm Emanuel, I'm a 737 pilot and a member of PMDG's tech team. Today we're looking at the brand new private jet that's just been released for Microsoft Flight Simulator, which is the Cirrus Vision Jet SF50. And this is our little new baby up here. Overall, I love it how they just put this little bit maximum cruise and maximum altitudes over there. But then again, that's what the Cirrus is all about. So those of you who are familiar with the SR20 or the SR22 will know that Cirrus strives to give the best possible performance in their aircraft. And this one is the next step up. So this is an aircraft intended for everyone who is familiar with the Cirrus SR20 or the SR22, but who wants to step up their game and go to a jet. And you don't need any fancy multi-engine rating for this. All you need is the single-engine turbine rating, because this is a single-engine aircraft. And it does feature some amazing performance, like climbing to flight level 310, flying at speeds of 311 knots. Now, of course, that always sounds a bit better than it actually is, because those are maximum values. You can climb it up to level 310, yes. You can fly 311 knots, yes, but not both at the same time. So, similarly for the range, this airplane can fly 1,245 nautical miles, but of course not at the maximum speed and range. There is a little explanation in the product manual as to the aircraft's performance capabilities, and they have interviewed a couple of real-life Cirrus pilots who all said that, well, just firewall the thrust lever, and basically, to quote the manual, the barber pole is not a limit, it is a target. Now that is business jet mentality. We would never ever do that in a commercial airliner. But nonetheless, you can fly it like this, and today we will. So the plan for what we are about to do today is just what we have here in the Navigraph charts. So let's get rid of this. Thank you very much. And we are currently here at Half Moon Bay, close to San Francisco. We'll fly at VFR up the coast until the Golden Gate Bridge. From there we'll cross over and resume our routing IFR then to Lake Tahoe. And then eventually, if I do like the plane, then we'll also fly it back. So, talking about if I do like the plane, I have just taken it out for a little spin around a local airfield here in Germany. So that is approximately the experience I have on it. Apart from that, I did read the manual, at least partially. So that's pretty much what we are flying this one based on. Alright. I would say we go out for a little walk around. So a couple of you asked me, like, how do I do these walkarounds all the time? So, of course, I could just use FS Realistic, but I want to show you how I actually do it. And that is going to the camera, showcase, but then just reduce those drone speeds. So, for example, I usually take a drone speed of 3, if I can get it there. Well, 2 is also going to do. And then a rotation speed of 45, and that normally gives me quite good levels for actually moving myself around the airplane. Like, see this? I do find this a pretty decent speed to control my cameras. So let's have a look around our airplane then. And we'll start up with the nose. Overall, some pretty high quality texturing there, if we look at the screws. And you can actually see in 3D the different paneling on the plane. That's cool. I don't think I've seen that yet in an aircraft. Going down to the nose wheel, again, high quality all around. And even the gear bay. You guys know that I'm a gear bay guy. I always look in there to see what we can come up with. And actually, they do have quite some good detail in here. Very well done. I didn't expect that. Also, the wheel itself, pretty high quality. By the way, I do love... I've put a registration of November 737 November Golf in there. And look at how it even puts that on the chocks and, of course, on the back of the plane as well. Like there we have our registration. That's pretty nice. Especially that it puts it on the chocks. Because in general aviation, that is often what we find. So we do still have to remove flight things on here. We'll have to remove those before we actually go. Even though it would be different, or it would be interesting to see if the airspeed is indeed not going to come alive. If we don't stow those pitot covers. Again, pretty good quality down here in the main wheel well bay. And that's some pretty good 3D models there of the aircraft's brakes as well. Well done, well done. Going along, pitot cover still on, you gotta remove that. And some pretty good details there on the navigation strobe lights as well as on the landing lights up here. Good job. My beloved static wick dischargers, yes, they are here as well. Now, coming on to the interesting thing here, which basically is the engine. So that's the engine. We'll have to remove the cover in a moment, but we will. Interesting looking thing. Interesting looking thing. By the way, if you're wondering how we can actually remove the covers, that is all done from inside the flight deck, and I will show you around it very soon. So, famous V-tail tailplane with the engine exhaust going right in between, so that does promise some interesting handling characteristics, and we will explore those in a few moments on our flight. Alright, I would say that's pretty much the look at our plane complete, so let's head over into our cabin. And here we are, inside the cabin of the Vision Jet. Let's close that up. Alright, and here we are. So, do note, by the way, that things have turned a little darker all of a sudden. That is because we do have this lovely covering here for our airplane. Now that can as well be removed from right within the menus, so I'm going to show you that in a few moments. It's just that it automatically disappears when you open the door, so that's why it just reappeared. But this is quite a nice feature that we actually have this. I believe it's the second plane that has it. The Discos from Godfrance has the window coverings as well. Alright, so let's head back into our aircraft. And we can notice a few things. First of all, we have oxygen masks, of course, because it can fly to such a high level. And then, of course, we have the airframe parachute system. And that is something that comes as a very first thing in the Vision Jet. And that is, just like the SR-20 and SR-22 in the SR-50, if you pull that parachute, then the airplane can safely glide to the ground on it. So that's a really cool thing, the cap system. Unfortunately, I don't think it's actually simulated, so none of this is actually clickable. Would be very nice if we had that possibility. However, I would imagine that a lot of flight simmers would probably just shoot the parachute just because they can. I mean, honestly, I'm one of them. I am definitely one of them. So this is our cockpit. Pretty cool style, if I'm honest with you, because just look around. This thing looks pretty much like a car. Oh, and of course, if you can afford a $1 million business jet, you also gotta have an iPhone, right? And an iPad. None of those are clickable, but I will show you how we can access those menus in a moment. So let's turn on our avionics. As always with Cirrus, you have the switch pad right up here in front of the primary flight display. So let's put the batteries and the generators on. This does fire up our G3000, which is just like in the Honda Jet. This is the working Turtle G3000. So eventually, as Microsoft is currently working on an update to that, it is going to see some great enhancements. But until then, we'll have the same avionics suit that we also had available in the Honda Jet. However, this is new up here. We now have the Virtual Aircraft Management System. And this is where we can install all the covers and, for example, the window cover as well. Chocks, let's remove the chocks as well. So here we are. This is a little bit nicer view, isn't it? This certainly is a little nicer view. Okay, so that's just like in the Honda Jet. We also do have the checklists in here. So let's go ahead and perform our checklists right from within the G3000. And Yannick, looks like a modern car. Yep. Cloud the action. Is this plane any better than the Honda Jet? Honestly, I don't know yet. So we are just about to find out though. So you can handle the checklist from right down here. I did unfortunately not find any way to press the switches directly from the control column like you could in the Honda Jet. So the variables are published in the manual, but I do believe you need an external program in order to access those. Anyway, we do have a checklist control right up here, so let's use that. Before engine start checklist. Pre-flight inspection. Complete, doors, latched, park and brake. As required. The park and brake is located just down here, so that's a little bit nifty to find, but here it is. And it's currently pulled out. Note that the click spot is currently mislocated to the right hand side, but that is actually a known bug and in the manual, so that is going to get fixed very soon. Okay, park and brake, on, battery switches, yeah, over here. On, generator switches on, external ground power unit as needed. Well, we don't have a GPU available today, but that'll have to do. Verify active FADEC channel is displayed below percentage thrust indication. Here we go, FADEC channel alpha. Okay, before engine start complete, then engine start checks. Strobe lights is up here and it's on. Why is that landing light on? Ah, I know why. Because my honeycomb just assigned itself automatically again. Okay, well, never mind about those. So, strobe light is on. Cast messages, checked. There are none over here. Thrust lever. Idle. Look at this thrust lever, by the way. That's neat, isn't it? That is really neat. Okay. So, thrust lever idle, brakes hold, engine knob, and now comes the funny thing. This is probably the easiest plane to start. You put the batteries on, you put your engine master switch on run, like this. You check the fuel pump indication, which we do have up here. Verify that the engine start battery temperature, engine start volts, cast message is not displayed, so they would be over here as well, and they aren't. Now, let's start up that airplane. Press the engine start button, and the rest of it. Happens all on its own. Gotta love it. I told you I love how easy the A320 is. I told you I love how easy the Honda Jet is. But this one is probably even a bit easier even. I have a feeling it's a race to the bottom. Pilots just aren't supposed to press any buttons anymore. Okay, so engine instruments monitor, caution 25% N2 and ensure positive N1 rotation. We do have that. Be prepared to abort the start. Yes. Well, the engine's running already. So, engine starts. EAS check normal. Engine IPS as required off. ECS control panel. That's down here. And basically what we can do up here, this is one of the few buttons we actually have inside the cockpit of the Vision Jet. We'll just about set it to auto. And for the temperature we'll take something in the middle. Note you have this button up here for the aft control, and if you put that on, you basically transfer control of the cabin temperatures back here to the passengers. And then the passengers can set their desired cabin temperatures themselves. Okay, so ECS control set, external GPU disconnected, oxygen master switch verify on, that's up here, and that is on. So, avionic initialization, all initialization complete. Okay, let's go from here. So this is pretty similar to what you are used to from the Honda jet. So, Cloud Action, how do you like the Bose headsets on the dashboard? To be honest, I love them. And I'll show you how to get rid of them in a moment as well. The A20, by the way, is a really good headset. Much recommendable. And no, I'm not sponsored by Bose. Okay, so we're at Half Moon Bay. Where is it? K-H-A-F. Our destination is gonna be KTBL, Lake Tahoe. Then let's go ahead with a quick look at our routes, which we have in the charts once more. So we'll fly via Sausalito, Sacramento, and then Sierra Whiskey Romeo. Whatever that's called. Squaw Valley? Do I pronounce that correctly? Oh, we'll see. Okay, so Sausalito. Here it is. Towards Sierra Alpha Charlie and then Sierra Whiskey Romeo. So Sierra Alpha Charlie, Sacramento, and Sierra Whiskey Romeo, which is Squaw Valley. Okay. That's our route complete. Apart from that, let's quickly go ahead and program the rest of our stuff. That is in case I do actually manage to find my... Oh yeah, here we go. I should probably have performed those tests before.
Stop.
Okay, thank you. So, back with that, and somewhere over here we should be able to do our initialization as well. Just gotta try finding that again. No. By the way, just as we see this page, what's really interesting here as well, you have different cabin configurations available. So currently we are in the executive configuration, which basically gives us 2 seats in the cabin and a little pedestal in between. But we can go to different configurations. So for example, we have the family configuration, and this is what it looks like. In the family configuration, you have 3 seats in the back. The 2, let's call them standard seats that we had in the executive configuration. But then of course we don't have the pedestal anymore because the path over here is required as an emergency exit. And then finally we have the complete configuration, which is pretty similar to the family configuration. But I would say this is a private plane, so we'll keep it in the family configuration. And that's pretty cool. What you do have to notice though is that the seats themselves are not by default included in the weight and balance. So they're weighing about 40 pounds each, and we do have to add them manually onto our airplane's weight, because they are so easily configurable and removable that they are not hard programmed into the, well, I'll keep calling them FMS just for simplicity. And Boozer Brandy, your pitot heat shouldn't be on yet. Yep, that's absolutely correct. The only problem is it's assigned somewhere to my honeycomb, and I don't know which switch it is, and I don't want to accidentally switch off anything that I shouldn't touch right now. So, my apologies, that's a bit embarrassing, but also note over here, you can choose different panel states, and up here, we can click on our headphones, and now they are no longer on the pedestal, but we're actually wearing them. So that's quite a cool thing. And of course, they do feature active noise reduction, but I'll show you that in flight when the engines are a little bit louder, so that you can see it a bit better. Also, you can quickly load up here different luggages and stuff. So that's pretty much a config page. Now the only one we have to find again is the initialization. Yeah, here we go. So, initial fuel will be pretty much on the maximum. So let's see, we have 298, and that is maximum, so let's put that in here as well. Okay, just synchronized with fuel on board, because the fuel gauge is actually pretty inaccurate, and they modeled that, so that's going to be quite interesting to show you later on. So, weight and balance, pilot, co-pilot, 180 pounds each, and we have nothing in the back there except for 40 pounds per seat, so I guess we do have to put those in as well. At least that is my understanding from the manual. I might be mistaken there, so if I am, then I'm very happy for any of you to tell me. Okay, 0 luggage, 0 storage, perfect. Flight plans in. Oh, that actually brings it to the flight plan page. Nice. Okay, accept initialization. You haven't completed. Okay, what did I miss? Oh, the database status. Yeah, charts are connected. Alright, accept. And now we're pretty much set up. The only thing we can do now is to set our speed box. So, let's put them on. Okay. Autopilot. The primary controls are located down here, but we do have controls for an auto throttle down here as well. So, something to be aware of. That you do have different autopilot control panels. So according to the charts, we can go up to an altitude of 4,000 feet initially. That is pretty much what we have looking here at the area chart. So you can see from Half Moon Bay, below 4,000 feet, we are allowed to fly along the coastlines over here all the way up to the Golden Gate Bridge. So if 4,000 is the limit, then let's set 3,700 in here, then we have a tiny buffer. Altimeter. We'll just go to PFD settings, and we want it in inches, please. Yes, we're in the United States. And that's pretty much our setup complete. Okay. So let's go ahead then. Yeah. With a checklist. Avionic initialization complete. Cap spin. That's the one that would have been up here as far as I'm aware. Might be mistaken. It's removed and stowed. Passengers briefed. Seatbelt secured. Bleed switch. Here's the fresh air switch up here. We'll put that on. Note that you can hear it. Just slightly, but you can. Hear that? Pretty nice. Okay, so before taxi, command nav radio set, ATIS clearance obtained, altimeter set and checked, transponder. What do we have here? Navcom, yeah, 1200, that's correct, as we'll depart VFR initially. Heading, altitude set, flight controls, okay. I can tell you these Cirrus side sticks do feel strange at first, but once you're used to them, they do feel pretty nice. Okay, trim, they say 6 units. Here you go, flaps 50%. And 50% electric roll trim set, toga button press. I would actually not know where to find that. I believe it's somewhere up here. Well, not on the autopilot panel. It's probably somewhere on the thrust lever where I can't find it. Okay, CAS message is checked. Seats must be in the normal upright position. Park and brake. That's hidden somewhere down here. Well, that's just gotta go down. Here it is. So, park and brake released, and brakes will be checked as soon as we start rolling, before takeoff check is complete. Alright. So, here we are. Weather up here, let's see if we can find any windsock. But doesn't look like it. No windsock anywhere. Actually, I think there is one up there. Is there? No, that's just the airport beacon. Okay, then we'll just go to runway 30. And a little bit of tailwind won't hurt us. Okay, landing light does serve as taxi light in here, so off we go. Brakes checked. Done. Toga button is the black button on the left of the throttle, you believe. Okay, standby 1. I'll just about bring the plane onto the taxiway up here, and then we're gonna try that. We'll clear right and clear left. So, black button on the side of the throttle, that one. Yep, that seems to be right. We do have some usable toga indication there. Very easy to taxi, but you do need some thrust on. Note that now that I'm in idle, the plane is very steadily losing some speed here. So, next to the right is where we do find the runway, so that's got to be here at Charlie. Clear left and clear right. I know, I do taxi a little bit dynamic here. Sorry for that. Tiny bit more thrust as we're going uphill. Okay. So what does it say on here? Attention pilots, half noise abatement procedures. No terms until reaching 500 MSL. Reduce power as soon as safe and practicable. Pattern work, especially touch and goes, is discouraged at night or on weekend and holiday mornings. Fly right traffic runway 30, left traffic runway 12. Maintain pattern altitude 1000 until necessary to descend for landing. Avoid flying over homes whenever possible. Safety always supersedes noise abatement procedures. For more information, please refer to the Half Moon Bay noise abatement handout. Thank you for your help and cooperation. Okay, so they say runway 30, which is the runway where we are standing now, is going to be a right traffic pattern at 1000 feet. Okay, so let's go ahead with the checklist. And at the same time, let's bring our map back up. So, departure briefing complete, landing lights on, ProBeat switch on, engine IPS as required, wing stabilizer IPS is as required off. Where's my click spot? Here it is. Okay, CAS messages checked, trim 6 units, we find that here, flaps 50%. Verify takeoff emergency battery CAS message is not displayed, and that is verified. Multifunction windows configure, caution flight operations with FADEC channel A or B inoperable are prohibited. Note, prior to takeoff, engine should run at low thrust settings to stabilize engine temperature before takeoff thrust is selected. Following engine start, a warm engine should run at idle thrust for at least 2 minutes prior to takeoff. Okay, we taxied more than 2 minutes, so that is all confirmed. So let's just quickly read through the takeoff procedures. Brake hold, thrust lever takeoff, engine indications check normal, brake release, rotate between 80 and 90 knots, pitch attitude 5 degrees, landing gear up, flaps up at 115 knots are clear of obstacles, and airspeed as per climb tables. Okay, we can do that. So let's quickly get rid of those. Okay. So the one thing that we do have to take care of here is that we don't run our engine at takeoff power for too long. They do recommend a maximum of 2 minutes, while it is possible to run it at takeoff thrust for up to 5 minutes. But if they do wish us to do 2 minutes only, then we will try to comply as good as possible. So we'll prepare our timer. Apart from that, the lights are on. I would say we are pretty much ready to go. One thing that we can quickly do is to select our target climb airspeed, and we do that down here. So when I loaded the plane for the first flight, I tried to set the speed using the wheel over here. That didn't work, so you really have to do it down here on the auto throttle panel. So let's use 94 knots, and we'll do traffic pattern R2 first, and thereafter we are going to go en route. Clear on the approach, clear on the right. So, ready, go. Timing. Set takeoff thrust. Takeoff thrust is set. $80 knots. Rotate. Ooh, that was a bit quick. Anyway, we're climbing. Positive rate, gear up. And we're flying. Strange that they say we have to do a right-hand pattern. Left hand would definitely feel better to me. But if they say so, we are going to comply. Okay, reaching 1,000 feet. Bring the thrust back. We're going to keep the flaps out in the first notch because it just makes the plane a little bit more controllable, I have the feeling. Flight director, you can go. So now there's our airport. Visibility, well, could be better, but is alright. It does seem strange that they want us to fly right patterns here. Probably trying to keep us clear of the beaches, but if that's so smart by getting us over the mountains instead, well, they will have put a line of thought in it, so we'll just not complain. Okay. Beam the threshold. Let's clear the harbor, then we turn base. Yeah, that was a landing gear warning. Let's go gear down. Okay, flaps 100. And there's our field. Looks quite a bit high, but don't worry about that. So 94 knots is our best angular climb speed. Let's maintain that. Wind is calm by the looks of it, so we did not make a bad choice with our runway. And it floats, and we're down. Okay, flaps to 50%. Back to the center line, set takeoff thrust. Thrust set, rotate. Okay, that lands quite nice. Gear up. Let's go ahead with our planned route of flight then. So we'll initially just head out to the coastline here, and as soon as we clear the coast, then we can climb up to an altitude of 4,000 feet. So that's why I've selected 3,700 here. Then we'll proceed along the coastline all the way to the Golden Gate Bridge. Once we're above 120, we can retract our flaps. Okay, flaps up. Climb thrust set. And we can immediately feel how we have jet power behind us. So look at that acceleration rate here. While we're still climbing at 1,000 feet a minute. I'm just constantly trimming those down as we're picking up the speed so fast. That is incredible. Okay, that looks pretty good to me now. And Masoto, is the speed actually so, sorry, is the screen actually so displaced compared to the seat? Yes, it actually is. Look at that. So the instruments are kinda supposed to be in the middle between the two pilots. And whether you like it or not, it certainly does make the whole thing feel interesting. So let's maintain 3,000. We do want to get a good view of the Golden Gate Bridge after all. And now I'm reducing thrust a little bit because you can see we're at 240 knots right now, and the plane would still be accelerating if we were still at full thrust. Now we're at 67%. That maintains 240 knots quite easily. Also note that we do have quite a bit of nose down attitude here. So it looks like we need about 2 degrees nose down pitch at these speeds. I'll just go a little bit further to the left because we have to get this corner over here. And at a speed of 250 knots that might get a bit interesting. But we're here to try. Of course. So let's read the climb checklist real quick. Thrust lever MCT, engine parameters monitor, cabin pressure monitor, ice protection as required, altimeters on transition level. Okay. So 3,000 feet looks like quite a good altitude for us. Jeff L, nice, flying the SF50 near SF. Yep. Alright, that's our Golden Gate Bridge coming up. Alcatraz over there. And we'll just about have a quick look at those, and then we'll commence our route of flight. And then we'll also see how high this airplane can actually go. And if it can make the advertised flight level 310. Nice beaches up here, by the way. I certainly wouldn't mind being here right now. Okay, that's Golden Gate. Lovely scenery. This is all default scenery. Even though I do believe it's photogrammetric. Right, and Alcatraz. And once we're past Alcatraz, we'll resume our route of flights. Lovely. Absolutely lovely. Unlike my hand flying. Brand new airplane, and I put it right into the overspeed. Good job. Alright, anyway. We'll resume our planned route of flight now, so let's go back to MCT. And let's put that autopilot to the test. Flight director, heading holds. Let's command a further climb already, and we'll go to level change with the autopilot connected. And here we go. Let's see how that's gonna perform. Normal climb speed should be somewhere in the region around 160 knots or so, but I'm happy to go a bit quicker. For as long as we do get good climb performance. I kinda like that view, like it really looks maybe like a boat or like, you know, like one of those motor boats looking outside. But then again, you're moving a tiny bit faster. Alright, navigation. GPS. The plane's supposed to have a rate of climb in the region of around 1,600 feet a minute, but at least in my earlier test flight, I easily got it to like 2,500. Maybe we should just reduce the climb speed a little bit more. Let's go to 165, that should give us the best rate of climb. And let's see how that's gonna perform. Let's make level 240 initially. Then we'll see how far it is from the position we're at then to Lake Tahoe, to see if it makes any sense going any higher or not. $2,000 feet a minute, a little bit less maybe, 1,800. Well, that's still quite okay for just a single engine. San Francisco over there, Alcatraz, Golden Gate, and this should be Oakland if I'm not mistaken. And I am not mistaken, it is. Mosoto, the stick in the plan is spring-centered, right? If I'm totally honest, I'm not 100% sure. Metal Eye, Dream Beach and Alcatraz, not too far away, but two totally separate worlds. Oh yes. So, 1,500 feet a minute now. Let's see those instruments. Probably keep the thrust somewhere over here, at the top of the green band. But let's just, for the fun of it, try and see what happens if I go full throttle here. Okay, takeoff thrust. Apparently there's supposed to be a button somewhere here that, oh yeah, you click on it, then it goes to MCT. Which is basically the top of the green band, okay. So just like I've set manually before. That's fine. And cloud action, are you planning to buy a Vilga? Yeah, for honestly, I might. But there's different stuff for now. So, the next interesting thing here is all the kind of stuff that we can do on the multifunction display. So, of course we can just go to a full map, like this. This is the standard map that we're pretty much all used to. And on top of that, we do have all the aircraft system displays. So, status info, what kind of stuff do we have there? TUT, density, altitude, flight ID, which is the call sign we entered. It's taking that right from the flight simulator itself. So it's taking whichever ID you actually enter. Let's see, engine and fuel. Well, we do have full tanks at the moment. It's nice to see that we got all this stuff in the background running here. Just like our range and the time we have available. Electrical power, well, as long as everything's green, that's pretty much good for us. Ice protection. Again, the typical stuff that you would expect to see over here. One thing that is worth noting though is that the radome and part of the windshields are protected by fluid, so if you run out of fluid, then you're out of anti-ice. That's pretty much the same as it is in the smaller Cirrus aircraft. I never really understood why I would do that and not just go for an electrical anti-icing, but I guess they probably don't have sufficient power available. Landing gear system, again, quite a detailed page here for actually seeing that we just have a standard tricycle landing gear. But I'm very sure they did put some thought into it. Apart from that, system tests, we've seen those earlier on, so that's pretty much all we have available in feed here. Slowly approaching transition altitude. Yes, I will be just this kind of a guy. I'll just go standard right now. Passing 157, climbing 240. Yeah, many of you will probably be familiar with a lot of those controls here from the default PC-12, but they are quite a bit enhanced, so we have a lot of systems, especially here, that we don't have in the default G3000 quite yet, even though an upgrade is planned for future versions. So with the next big sim update, if I'm not totally mistaken, working title and Microsoft will greatly enhance the G3000 capabilities, and of course those enhancements are going to come to the Vision Jet as well. So we can expect quite some major changes to those logics with the sim update 12 coming in, I believe, February or March or something like that. And Masoto, deploy the caps. You wish. No, the caps is actually not simulated, so we have all the buttons and levers up here, but I cannot click on the handle for the caps. And for those of you who are wondering what caps actually stands for, it's a parachute escape system that we have available in the jet. To my knowledge, by the way, it is the only jet that actually has a parachute system available. Well, at least one where the entire aircraft can hang on. So basically we'd have the parachute come out here from the fuselage, and the entire airplane could glide to the ground on the parachute in case something goes wrong. So even though we only have a single engine up here, that is quite a good safety system. And on the smaller Cirrus aircraft, especially on the 22, the caps has already proven its worth, and there are a couple of videos available on YouTube where you can actually see how the caps is used and how an entire aircraft can glide to the ground on the parachute. Something pretty much unique to Cirrus, if I'm not mistaken. By the way, do note a small bug here as we're transitioning from indicated airspeed into Mach. It tells us something, but it's not flying it. So we can change that. Well, at least we should be able to. Is it now trying to go to 0 airspeed? You can, however, change it from the control wheel down here on the auto throttle. But that's a little bugged at the moment, so if you try to use the wheel that you have up here, where you can set the speed when you're in indicated or the vertical speed, then that's just going to 0.01 Mach or to 0.0, and it tries to slow the aircraft to a standstill. So that's quite a bug, but you can circumvent it by using the wheel that you have down here on the auto throttle system. As you can see now, it's basically flying it nicely. And then DG, Aircraft and Avionics Update 1, including the G3000 refresh, is due in January 2023. Well, even better. And Cloud Action, Safe Return is, to my knowledge, not included. So, yeah, as far as I'm aware, the Safe Return feature is not simulated yet. I don't know if it's gonna come with a future version, but to my knowledge, the only add-on currently featuring the Safe Return feature is the TDS GTN XI. Those have Safe Return simulated. But to my knowledge, none of the other systems has yet. Jeff, which small aircraft did you fly before the 737? I flew the Cessna 150, 172, Piper 28, Piper Seneca, Piper Seminole, couple gliders, mostly ASK 21, LS4 and Discus CS. Now, which aircraft did I forget? Well, 2 hours on a motor glider, if those count at all, and 1 hour on a Grope G115. That was a very nice airplane for aerobatics, and we used that as part of the upset recovery training, where we did some loopings and some spins and stuff like that. That was really cool time, but at the end of the flight I was rather happy that I had some level ground back under my feet. So, 2,000 to go. How far is it till our destination? Oh, we have like 100 and a bit miles to fly. So, I would say we're quite good here at level 240 and don't need to climb any higher. And cloud action, what about pneumatic boots? Well, I don't think... Well, no, I might be mistaken, it does have them. Give me 1 second, I do think they are actually simulated. Let's turn the wing stabilizer and the ice on. Yeah, look at that! You can see the boots inflate. Look at that! You can see the system working there. Well done. Well done, Flight FX. This is the first time I actually see those boots in action in a Microsoft Flight Simulator. At least visually, that is. The Vision Jet is quite a susceptible airplane to icing, by the way, so according to the manual, ice will build up first on the aft parts of the aircraft and then on the wings. So you can be sure if you have only tiny amounts of ice on the wings, then you will have larger amounts of ice on the tailplane. So don't be shy pressing that button. You might just about have to de-ice the airplane on the first indications of any ice actually being present. Okay, we've made it to level 240. Let's go ahead and accelerate a bit. I'll just keep max continuous thrust set and let's see how fast we can actually get the aircraft. Let's set our target, Mach 0.52, which is pretty much the maximum airspeed this one can go at. And while we're sitting here and waiting for the acceleration to happen, let's quickly jump back into the cabin and have a look at another pretty cool feature in the real one. And, well, let's just call it lovely little toy to play with in this one. So, one of the cabin seats over here, and look at that. An in-flight entertainment system. I love it. Now, if this one was able to actually play some videos, that would be really cool. If I could watch my live stream on this, man. But I guess it's just a fixed picture at the moment. But you know, you can always replace that with other kind of pictures. And yes, I do have something in mind. No, I can't say it, otherwise YouTube is gonna be unhappy. But you know what the internet is about. Now this, by the way, is the temperature control system that I told you about earlier on, that the pilot can delegate to the aft of the aircraft. So if you press the aft control button up here, and now the controls are deferred to the passengers. Now they can set the temperatures they want. But we'll keep it off, we'll keep control ourselves. Still accelerating, but look at that, we're already doing almost 290 knots true airspeed, and we still have a bit of margin upwards. And Masoto, is the throttle motorized in this plane so that it would follow the chosen speed? Yes, it does have an auto throttle. Ganali, is there an HDMI port? Would love to connect my Nintendo Switch. I'm pretty sure there is. And if there is none in this plane, then I'm very sure you can still order it as an optional extra. Okay, so let's put the auto throttle on. AT. We'll put it on manual control here. And let's set that command speed back up to 0.52. Here we go. And now the auto throttle is operating the thrust levers. It does have an FMS control mode here for the speed reference for the auto throttle, but I'm not 100% sure yet if that works correctly. So what it's supposed to do, when you go to FMS, it's going to set the speed that is most appropriate according to the flight management system. Now, I'm not sure if I want to try right now. And I'm not 100% sure yet which speeds it would actually try to follow. So just don't quote me on anything there yet, because I will play around with it a little bit more. Okay, it looks like our speed kind of stabilized on the maximum it can achieve here. So 300 knots true airspeed right now at flight level 240. And that is with max continuous thrust set. Even though it is still gaining a little bit, who knows, maybe it'll come up to 311 as advertised as the maximum speed. I guess it eventually will. Of course, might be dependent on some of the weights as well, so and NDG, does auto throttle show the modes active if you use it? Yep, up here. You can see right now it's set to maintain the speed at Mach 0.52. Cloud Action, can you check how this plane performs without one engine? Well, maybe a bit later after the stream. Maybe a bit later after the stream. Or at the end of the stream. Best glide speed is 120 knots. So, yeah, once we're back after a couple traffic pattern at Half Moon Bay, we might just go ahead and do it. Okay, now we slowly see our destination coming up there. Lake Tahoe is somewhere around those mountains, and that's where we are going to put our plane down. And look at that. True airspeed 313, 314. So, it is capable of reaching its target speeds. Can even slightly exceed the 311. That's pretty cool. Alright, let's go ahead and prepare for our arrival. So we'll take a charts approach and we will do the on-off approach for runway 18 at Lake Tahoe. And we'll take the transition from a Hurdy up here. So let's go ahead and program that. Film, procedure, approach, on-off 18 from Hurdy, loads. Let's try to see what that looks like on the map. Yep, pretty alright. Sierra Whiskey Romeo, Hurdy, and then we go straight in. Let's go to a little bit of VNAV equations here. So, where can I get that chart? Well, the quick version is available like this. That's gotta do for now. So, Hurdy and Obave at 11,000. So let's use that for our VNAV. Enter, VNAV, enabled. So, to the top of climb is gonna be 1 minute and 40. We're almost there. Minimums, LNAV only. We're a category Bravo airplane, 7,620. So minimum 7,620, and that's gonna be Barrow. Enter. And for the speed box, we'll switch off the box from the takeoff, and we'll switch on the box for the landing. So that should pretty much be our approach preparation completed. As it's an on-off approach, we don't need to tune any frequencies or anything. And that's it. Let's use that. That working? Plan mode? Yeah, kind of. Could be nicer, but let's go back to all. That gives us a vertical profile view as well. Okay. VNAV is coming alive. Unfortunately, VNAV mode itself is not yet working, so we'll have to follow it by using level change or vertical speed. And just prior to the descent, 315 knots. That's what we can get the airplane to. And VNAV is coming. But the button doesn't do anything. That is a known issue. Well, it's using the default Asobo autopilot, so known issue would be kinda unfair. Let's start our descent then. 89 feet a minute. Auto throttle should correct that overspeed here momentarily. And we can see it does slowly reduce the thrust. Very slowly, but it does. Let's reduce to 0.51. So not an absolutely perfect autopilot, but it's based on the default Asobo one. So it is kinda alright, if I need to find some words for it. Then, let's quickly run our checklist. Cruise is complete already, descent checks, thrust levers as required, field elevation 6,258 is checked, ice protection off, and standing by for the altimeters. Okay. So, here we go. And Jeff, no circle to land quite yet, so on the way back. So, that's Lake Tahoe. Wow, it starts getting cold here. And I thought that the snow on my live stream in Russia would have been the only snow for a while. Looks like I'm not quite right there. Okay, transition level set 2993, passing 17,900, descending 16,000, no flag step by set. Masoto, a flying fish. That's a good way to call it. So we're approaching the last waypoint. That's always an interesting thing in the working title. Whether it sequences correctly to the next one from the approach, or if it just tries to fly somewhere. Chances are it's probably gonna go somewhere. And do note once again when it transitions from Mach to indicated that it can mess up over here, like it just did. It's once again not following the speeds it is supposed to fly. Only the moment once we actually start changing something, it starts to follow the commanded speed again. But, very nice transition onto the approach here. If you look at that, pretty much perfect. Did I just say anything? And here we go. Literally the moment you say it's good, it starts acting. Oh boy. And of course that means it lost its VNAV data and everything. Very good. Good job. Alright, well, while the airplane is flying itself, back under the profile, a couple of you have talked about if the control surface movements on the tailplane are simulated correctly. Now we are just about gonna put that plane down in Lake Tahoe, and then we will have a look at it, okay? Now why is it skipping that black here? Let's do that. From HE to O baby. And that gets us a better VNAV profile as well. Good. And we might just about turn that auto throttle back off. And go to idle. Gen 60 might be a bit quick to fly. And to be honest, the manual throttle handling is pretty good. So, I don't see any reasons why we should be using auto throttle here anyway. Well, I do see a reason, because I'm sure that you guys want to see it. So, let's try that auto throttle once more, and we want the speed at 240. So, turning final. Let's get that shot up. What's the platform altitude? 9,300, okay. Then down we go, level change. So according to the manual, you can go 210 knots all the way. Actually, no, that's not correct. I'm confusing the Vision Jet with the Warthog right now. Okay, that is descending a little bit too quick there. Vertical speed, 1,000 feet a minute. That should be good. And we'll reduce the auto throttle to 210 knots. So, according to the manual, and this time I got the right figures, if you are flying, or if you are being radar vectored onto the downwind, then you are supposed to do about 140 knots. Now, I find that quite slow, so I will be going a little bit faster here. But, the Cirrus published speeds, 140 knots, and then 120 later on. JTFF mod, can we expect a preview of the 900 soon? Nothing I'm allowed to talk about, sorry. And Grandam, it is so modern it looks kinda empty inside. Well, first of all, hi Grandam, nice to see you. And yeah, you're right. It does look very simplistic, to be honest, but it is not at all. Right, so level at the platform. Let's put approach mode active. And why does it go to glide path now? We are below the glide path. Airplane, what are you doing? Just watching it for a little while, at least as long as we're visual. Nope, that's bullshit. Vertical speed. Let's maintain this altitude until the actual glide path comes in. So that's our glide path. Well, we do seem to be rather high though, when I'm looking outside. Okay, that glide path is incorrect. So we'll have to go around from this anyway. But if we have to go around anyway, well, now the glide path comes. And it doesn't capture. Okay, good job. Thank you, I've seen enough. We'll discontinue the approach and do a visual. Perfect example of the working title not doing what it's supposed to do. Good job. First flight, first live stream. Well, I'll distract you. I'll distract you from the failure of the working title. Here, look at how good that terrain looks. Almost, at least. Look at how good that looks. Isn't that beautiful? Isn't that totally beautiful? Okay, enough of that. You know it, I know it. We don't need to pretend something works if it doesn't. Let's do a visual approach, 140 knots. And what's the checklist saying? Altimeter set, seatbelt secure, approach checks, approach briefing complete, seats must be upright, ice protection off, lights on, flaps. Okay, flaps 50%. 150 knots looks good. There's our airfield, a little bit turbulent here. We are thrown about quite a bit. That's like really turbulent here. And we don't pick up Skype on a live stream. Nope. Okay, that's probably better. So, gear down. And flaps full. Always lovely when the airplane acts up on your very first approach. But this looks better. This looks a lot better. Look at how we are right on the puppies, but the glide slope on the PFD is totally out of view. Copy 3 reps, correcting, and we are back on 2-2. And we're down. Stop the timer, 50 minutes for the first flight. Well, for the second first flight, you know what I mean. And I guess we'll park right in front of the main apron. Random, 20 euros landing fee. Survived the landing. Thank you very much, my friend. Thank you very much. Okay. So we'll go ahead and park right up here in front of the main terminal. Come on, come on. Ah. Okay, doesn't matter. We'll park it right here. So, parking brake, well hidden down here. Okay, so before landing stuff is completed, let's go ahead with the after landing stuff. No, not the go-around stuff. Come on. Here we are. Flaps up, anti-ice off, propede. Yeah. Wish I could turn that off, but my honeycomb is currently a little bit annoying there. Okay, light set, brakes, checked. Okay, shutdown checklist. Thrust lever idle. Then engine ice protection is off. Bleed fresh air switch off. Master oxygen off. Lights gonna go off in a few moments. So now comes the easiest way of shutting an airplane down. Switched off. Engine stop button. And it's shutting down. So N2 is below 24%. Pin can go back in place. Generators off and batteries off. No GSX, we don't need you. Okay. That's the very first flight completed. Now let's go ahead and enjoy the quick coffee as we're here, and then we'll make our way back towards Half Moon Bay. Masoto, this auto will happily take you to the scene of the crash if you let it. Okay. So, let's go ahead and quickly plan our return flight, and then we'll straight away take the airplane back over. So, Navigraph, thank you very much. You may unload this flight, and we'll create a new one. Origin, we're at Lake Tahoe, and we are going back towards Half Moon Bay. This is going to be IFR with the standard charts, cruising at, well, Let's not go all that high. We just saw how short that cruise has been, even though we had 40 knots tailwind. So we'll plan it just about at somewhere around the region flight level 200 or so. Departure available. What do we have here? Richie 7. Do we have that thing? Over here. Spook. That sounds good. I want to go to Spook. Might feel just about as spooky as this flight has been. Okay, then we'll go via Linden. Direct Lima India November and direct let's see, they'll probably try to take us somewhere around the San Francisco approach area. So let's go to Woodside, Oscar Sierra India afterwards. Right, so to Oscar Sierra India. Done, thank you very much. And at Half Moon Bay. Yeah, okay, they only have approaches from the north. Well, would have been nice. Nope. That was not true. So here we go. That looks good. Out of approach runway 30. We'll add that one to the route as well. Starting at Jamda. And you know what? If we are going via Jamda, then we might not fly to Oscar Sierra India, but rather to November Uniform Kilo up here. That might make the route a little bit easier to use. And of course it's November Uniform Quebec, my mistake. Alright, so that's a new flight plan then. And to Katri, just got here. Is this a study level plane? Well, not study level, no. It's fun to fly, but not study level. Okay, so that is what we have then. So, quick look outside. The shortest possible way of a walk around, I would say. And from this perspective, the Vision Jet actually looks pretty cool, doesn't it? Alright, this is probably as quick as a walk around will ever get. They always say the time of walk around is totally independent of the actual weather conditions. Now, with the weather conditions like this, I actually 100% have to sign it. But here we are. Okay, so bottom part first, top second, and the door is closed and locked. So let's try to fly that thing once more. Han Melon Lord, does it behave well enough as you'd expect and not try to kill ya? Well, remember that approach that we just did? It definitely looked at it, try to kill us. Okay, flight plan, options, delete, yes. So, let's try that a second time. Maybe it was just bad luck. So, TBL to... What's it called again? Half Moon Bay? Fox Bravo, is that correct? No, it's not. And of course it's not. We're going to Hotel Alpha Foxtrot. That does look a little bit better there. Okay, so Kilo Hotel, come on, Alpha Foxtrot, that's where we are about to go. Procedure, departure, Richie 7, and we said we go to Spook. This one is going to be a runway 30, so a tiny bit of tailwind, but that's not going to be a problem. And then, from Spook, we'll proceed Lima India November. No, certainly not to Linate. Linton, Southwest USA, that sounds good to me. And from there, November Uniform Kilo. I keep saying Kilo. November Uniform Quebec, of course. Moffat, Mountain View. And then procedure approach honor 30 from Sabbath is good enough for me. Load that up. So, what does it look like now? I would say that's quite alright. So, with the route in, we don't need our Navigraph chart app anymore, because we do have the charts available on the PFD. But before we're going to do so, let's go ahead and start that airplane up once again, so that our battery doesn't run dry. So, pre-flight inspection complete, door latched, parking brake is set, batteries on, generators on, GPU is needed, FADEC is shown in channel A. Before start checklist complete, engine start checks, strobe light on, CAS messages checked, thrust lever idle, brakes hold, engine knob run, so that knob is hidden behind the stick, so engine knob to run, fuel pump on is displayed, and we can slightly hear it. If we listen very carefully, we can actually hear that fuel pump. Okay, so engine starter press. Okay, electronic instruments checked, anti-ice off, ECS control panel down here, set, GPU disconnected, so oxygen on, fresh air on, and avionic initialization complete, cap pins removed and stowed, passengers briefed, seatbelt secured, bleed switch on, and before taxi checks. Command nav GPS set, 8 is obtained. Altimeters 2991 set. Heading and initial altitude. Okay, let's quickly get out our chart. Ritchie 7 departure. And that one takes us. See if we can read anything on here. Okay, heading 345 across Ritchie, southeastbound above 1300. Okay, so let's see. I'll just set our initial climb something a little bit higher then. Or is there anything on the chart over here? Yeah, we're familiar with the obstacles. Top altitude assigned by ATC. Okay. We'll just about take the 1500 that we have now. Okay. It looks pretty alright to me. And then we have that Ritchie defined from the Fox Mike Golf 17.9192. So let's go to the comms, radios. 117.9 and 117.9. Active on both sides. Good enough for me. Squawk. Well, we are going IFR at first. Let's go to Squawk 2000. Insert. And we can reset the timers. We can select our speed box again for the takeoff. 94 knots gives us the best angular climb, so then 165 is our best rated climb, so well, we'll go 165 then for the initial climb. Okay, so let's go ahead with the checklist. Heading initial alt set, flight controls free correct, trim, 6 units, flaps. Watch the flaps as they're transitioning over here. 50% set. Electric roll trim set, toga button, that is down here. Thank you very much for that on the from the first sector. CAS messages checked, seat must be upright, it is, and then we can release our brakes already. Okay. Looks to me like we are pretty much all ready to go. Ah, Masoto, the animations on the tailplane. You're right. I wanted to show you those. So, here we are. Let's go full up, full down, neutral, well, full left, full right, neutral, and now let's do the rudder. Full left, full right, neutral. And now let's try the complicated stuff. Rudder full right, and elevator full up. The other way around. There's something coming through over here. Look at that. You see that? Probably they forgot to animate a part up here. Well, that's stuff that should have been caught by the beta testers. The other way around as well. Now the elevator is full up, I'm just playing with the rudder a bit. So that's the animation on your V-tail. Looks pretty much correct to me. Looks pretty much all correct to me. Okay, then let's release that brake. Once again, very well hidden down here, but now it's released. And off we go. We'll go off to the right hand side. We're departing runway 30. And what's the windsock saying? Yeah, it's gonna be direct tailwind, but less than 10 knots, so it is acceptable. Not nice, but the runway is more than long enough. Even though we are located at a high altitude here, 6,200 feet, but still. Let's quickly talk about the frame rates, by the way, because those seem really good to me. I don't have any frame rate problems whatsoever, especially coming from the A310 previously, and also from the recently having tried the Mad Dog, which is not that good on performance either. Overall, I really have to say the general performance on the Vision Jet is really good. So, of course, we haven't quite put it to the most frame rate intensive areas, thinking about Los Angeles here, for example. But I mean, we flew it over San Francisco and the frames were good, so that's pretty much as hard as it gets, isn't it? One other thing, as I just about see it, is the yaw damper up here. So, look at how the yaw damper is constantly on, and I don't seem to have any switch to actually turn it off. I would like to disengage it, because you're not supposed to have a yaw damper on during takeoff, but if anyone knows where that switch is to disengage the yaw damper, I'd be very happy to know. And Jeff L, I think it's accurate. The Vision Jet manages the yaw damper for you. Well, it might be accurate that it doesn't have a yaw damper switch, I fully agree, but in that case the management is not correct. Like, look at how it has the yaw damper turned on during taxi and takeoff, and that should absolutely not be the case. Well, at least not a multi-engine aircraft, but with a single-engine jet, I'm just trying to think and trying to see if there is anything that would justify yaw damper being on during taxi, but I just can't come up with something. Doesn't seem right to me. It doesn't seem right. At least I couldn't come up with any theory that would explain why it is the case, if you know what I mean. Well, anyway, let's go ahead. Before takeoff checklist. Departure briefing complete, landing lights on, probe heat on, engine IPS is off, wing stabilizer IPS off, CAS messages. No. Check, trim 6 units, flaps 50%, verify takeoff emergency messages not shown, it's not, and multifunction window configure as required, so we do have that configured as required. Okay, let's skip over this. And we'll go straight away to the climb checklist. Okay, looks to me like we are pretty much ready to go. We're clear on the right. We are clear on the left. Let's talk about the yaw damper a bit more when we are airborne, because we do have that headwind on the way back, and we still want to go right. Okay, so, timing. Set takeoff thrust. Takeoff thrust set, indications normal. So let's see how strong the tailwind is. According to the wind sockets, between 5 and 10 knots. But I wouldn't quite rely on that in Flight Simulator. $60 knots. Yeah, we are quite fast already. Rotate. Gear up. Positive freight. Yeah, between 5 and 15 knots of tailwind. And we're passing 120 knots, flaps up. That should give us the climb power we're looking for. Or rather, the climb performance we are looking for. This is a nice area to live, isn't it? It has to be. It really has to be. Look at that. So, we've reached 2 minutes. Let's go back to max continuous thrust. Which is set now. Then Ritchie above 13,000. In other words, we'll just about fly past Ritchie, and then from the other end side we're gonna catch it back. And in case you're wondering why I'm hand flying this, primarily because this is such a beautiful airplane to hand fly. So... we'll just fly it like this so that we can actually cross Ritchie above 13,000. Even though, technically speaking, we're going southwestbound, but I just want to be sure there that we'll stay clear of any terrain. Because there certainly is a little bit over there. Okay, should be good enough. Then let's go to the flight plan and activate the lag inbound to spook. Right into the sunlight. Lovely. While the plane does have a sunshade up here, it doesn't seem to be animated. So we can't use this. And by the time we reach Ritchie, we should be above 13,000, so good to go. So, nav mode, let's start with a vertical speed, just in order to ensure that the airplane does catch the Ritchie restriction. Somewhere like this, and autopilot. I said autopilot. Here we go. Now it's engaged. So, pretty much over at Ritchie, and yeah, almost at 13,000. That is good enough for me. Sun right in our face. Is that sunshade animated? No, it's not. Okay. Well, hopefully that's going to be added with a future version. And we've passed the 13,000, then let's go into level change, and we want to do 165 knots. See how well it flies this. Slight shallow climb while it's accelerating, that looks pretty good to me. In the meantime, climb checklist there. Where is that wheel? Here it is. So, thrust levers MCT, parameters monitor, cabin pressure monitor, ice protection off, and altimeter standard at the transition altitude. Okay. Funny enough, now that it talks about cabin pressure here, you look at this, and the cabin altitude is pretty much at the red line. But I guess with a departure at such a high elevation airport as 6,500 feet, that is kinda understandable and kinda acceptable as well. Stephen, welcome. Yes, this is Lake Tahoe. And if so, then yes, can confirm that is an extremely nice area to live. Yeah, I kinda expected so. Okay, Frank, what is your rating out of 10 so far? So let me just confirm that we're talking about rating so far. This is not any final result here. Just my initial impression. And the initial impression is that, if you know the Honda Jet and how the Honda Jet flies, and if you like how the Honda Jet flies, then you will like this one as well. If you don't have the Honda Jet, then the sounds are a little bit basic, so we do have the engine sounds and stuff, but there is nothing coming from the avionics. Not sure that should be. So, no cooling fans or something the likes is what I'm talking about. The airplane does seem to fly quite nicely, so it does achieve the numbers that it's supposed to achieve. It does get the altitudes and the rates of climbs that it's supposed to achieve. The visual model is nice. So, if I'm just looking around this flight deck, the visual model is definitely nice. There could be a little bit room for improvements. For example, when I'm looking down here, things are a little bit unsharp, if you know what I mean. But, yeah, how do I like it? Now, that's the big question. If I would have to compare it to other add-ons, of course I cannot give it a full 10, because there are other add-ons that are simply better. However, it is a very enjoyable aircraft, so, yeah. It's very hard to put into context, because if I'm looking at all those reviews of stuff on SimMarket, of stuff on flightsim.to, and so on, a lot of add-ons just get the full 5 stars, even though, you know, in my opinion they aren't quite as good as others. Now, this one is enjoyable, it's fun to fly. So, I don't know, I might give it something like a 7 or something out of 10. But please do not put that in context to other reviews of other aircraft with a maximum of 10 stars. So, The plus points are definitely nice looking visuals, nice looking aircraft type overall with that single engine jet. So just look at this. I mean, that's quite a fancy looking thing. And it can go into small runways. It has over 1,000 mile range at 311 knots and up to flight level 310, so quite some good performance. The G3000 is of course once again the big thing. It's going to be interesting how the Aircraft and Avionics Update 1 in January is going to make this look, because imagine if this was like really high fidelity as going into the region of the G1000 there, or even into the region of the avionics in aircraft like the PMDG or the Phoenix. That would be amazing. But truth is, it's not. This is still the working Turtle G3000 as is on the market right now prior to the Aircraft Avionics update. So that is of course the big weak point of the whole thing. It has some bugs like we can see right now. Again, it transitioned to constant Mach climb and it just doesn't hold it. So only if I adjust it here now, then it is gonna fly it. Let's put that auto throttle on as well. It's gonna set climb thrust automatically. I should have done that much earlier. Transition altitude, set standard, passing 1900 and climbing level 200. So yeah, that's pretty much how I see it. Fun to fly, not perfect, but then again, it only costs you 25 bucks. So taking the price range into account, I would say it is a good investment. Fun to fly. So 7 out of 10, yes. And cloud action. Can we try to fly flight level 310? Well, it's gonna take a while. It is gonna take a while. The thing is, if we climb to a higher level, then we are spending more time at the slow speeds. But you know what? If you're asking me so nicely, how could I say no? Let's go level change. Climb thrust set. 310. Set. So this is gonna take a while now, maybe 15 minutes or so, until we actually reach that level. The reason why I originally tried to stay lower, just in case you're wondering, is because we can see up there our coastline and our destination are slowly coming up. And we'll get stronger headwinds. But most importantly, on a short flight like this, we're spending a lot of time now flying the climb speed, and the climb speed is rather slow. Look at that, true airspeed 220 knots. Now in cruise we would go 90 knots faster, and we wouldn't even save much fuel, quite the opposite even. But then again, I totally get this as a test flight, and you guys want to see how the airplane is going to perform, so let's do that favor for you. But I'll try to force it up a little bit quicker. Let's go VS 1500. And let's make a climb like this. We'll see where the speed is going to stay. I'm just going to command a little bit higher speed here so that auto throttle will keep maximum thrust. And then let's see how this is going to develop. Now, trying to remove that minimums. That's better. So, altimeters are standard. With that, the climb checks are complete. Standing by for the cruise checks. Jose, is this better than the Honda Jet? Well, not in version 1.0. But it surely has the potential. It surely has the potential to become better. Keep in mind it's from the same developer, so a lot of their experience from the Honda Jet has probably gone into this. The avionics are on par with the Honda Jet, because basically they are the working Turtle G3000. What they're doing here? Come on. Did I just say the avionics are on par with the Honda Jet? I haven't seen the Honda do this yet. Come on, airplane, you can't be serious. I just said something good about you. Don't do this. Let's try to change the vertical speed, see what happens. Let's go 2000. I literally just said something good about you, my friend. Oh, and watch that bug again as it now tries to pull the speed to 0. So, a little bit of problem there. The Honda never did that. Let's go like this. Mosoto, and then boom, depressurized. We're gonna go all the way down on that cap's parachute, sleeping soundly. You know, the one thing that's nice on this one, rather than the what's pretty evident on this one rather than the Honda Jet is that it is just a smaller airplane. And this one is designed to be flown by the owner and not in a charter market. Now, some companies nonetheless adopted some Vision Jets as a charter aircraft, but originally that wasn't the design of the aircraft. So this was designed for people who want to get themselves a jet, who want to step up into Jet Age. And you can see it works like this. This really is designed single pilot operations. This is designed for, you know, flying out your family. Even though we can exchange the seats in the airplane. Oh, and look at that. We can actually dim the lights separately. Nice. Okay. Let's go a little bit faster. Mach 0.3 maybe. So you can see the climb performance is now seriously dropping as we're approaching the very high flight levels. Now that is of course totally expected and normal, but it will eventually get there to 310. I did try that on one earlier flight. And Yannick, they should really make a bit of a bigger private jet, a CJ-1 for example, or a Learjet 45, maybe even a better Mustang. Yeah, I totally agree with you. It would be very nice if we had something like a Learjet 70 maybe, or a Gulfstream, something like that. In my opinion, give me a Gulfstream or give me a Global 7000 and I'm sold. I will never fly something else again. If that is a well-simulated plane up to a PMDG or Phoenix standard. And Stefan, Mach 0.3, with the right headwind this thing would be stationary over the ground right now. Yep, we're doing 180 knots true airspeed. I have seen 180 knots jet streams already, so... Yep. Like, can you imagine you fly somewhere and you actually have that much of a wind and you just go stationary? You would probably drive those air traffic controllers totally nuts. Well, and I actually see that as a challenge. Next time there is such a strong jet stream, we might want to go online on that then. Yannick, I ever wanted to fly a Gulfstream, but I think the real company doesn't want their plane in a simulator. To be honest, I think it's less of a problem with the actual simulator, but it's more a problem that you have to simulate such a complex system, because the avionics in these aircraft, they are more sophisticated than what we get in the usual airliners. but the market for them is rather tiny, so a lot of people are going to buy a 737 add-on or an A320 add-on, but far less are going to buy a business jet add-on. And if you have a more complex airplane which requires more development work, but you have a much lesser market, that would mean the prices would skyrocket, probably to a level where the thing just wouldn't be a commercial success anymore. That is my opinion why there are so little business jets. Well, so little high-end business jets. Like, we can see how there is a market in Flight Simulator for business jets with simple avionics. So, I'm thinking about the Honda jet, I'm thinking about this one, but I'm also thinking about, for example, the Falcon 50 that we had in P3D, which had an analog cockpit powered by GTN 750s. So, in these cases, it was worth for the developer to create an aircraft that simulated the aircraft, but not the avionics. Now imagine if you had to put some high complex avionics on top of that. So that's probably the reason why we don't have such aircraft. And Frank, yeah, the avionics in the Gulfstream are much more complex than in a Citation. Okay, so 2,000 feet to go. We're getting there, slowly. Slowly but steadily. One to go. So this is probably going to take like 2 more minutes. So while it's climbing, I'll just head back into the cabin and have a look over here. So the most important thing we discovered already, we've got the USB connector and the USB charger. Apart from that, well looking cabin. I mean, the seats and the seatbelts have really good detail there. Looking at the wall, that one's a bit less detailed, but then again we're looking at the back wall of the cabin, so this looks interesting. Well, that's like what the cabin looks like back here. Indeed, it looks very much like if you were in a car, but that is the overall idea of the design. Well, this would probably be my favorite seat if I had to sit in the back. Yeah, this is good. Otherwise, this one's nice, of course. And seeing that this is a single pilot airplane, this would probably be my favorite seat, of course, as a passenger. And we're up here. Flight level 310. In a single engine aircraft, can you imagine? So let's tell it to speed up. And let's see how fast we can get up here. There is a trend vector visible, that's a good sign already. If you see a trend vector, that means it's not too bad. But look at that thrust, down to 37%. Huge impact that we can see by flying at these altitudes. Wow, and just look outside. We are not very fast, certainly not. What's it doing right now? Ground speed 180 at these flight levels. Look at this. You guys talked about being almost stationary. Well, here you got it. Yannick, for me it would be no-go for a private jet not to feature a loo. Well... the question is, does it actually have one? And cloud action, yeah. Here you go with the speeds. Accelerating right now, but we've been down to 180 knots ground speed. Right now, 250, but we're still accelerating. So this does take a time. This definitely takes its time. By the way, I don't know if you can see it through the live stream, but let me try to get a little bit closer. Like this maybe. You can actually count the pixels on the screen. Can you see this? They actually simulated all the pixels separately. And talking about the loo. No, they don't seem to have one. Like in some private jets, you can fold part of a seat up, and then you have a loo below it. But that doesn't seem to be the case over here. No, it's not. That's unfortunate. Okay, we can see San Francisco Bay up there already. And 280 knots right now, but still accelerating. We even still have a tiny trend vector over here. Looks nice from the right side as well. Train actually looks a bit nicer over here, doesn't it? Jeff L, my pixels are simulating your simulated pixel. Good one, good one. Okay, looks like we are slowly reaching about the maximum that we are gonna get here. Thrust is at max continuous. 290 knots-ish. At the service ceiling. That's always the thing with these small jet aircraft. They say they go 311 knots and flight level 310, but not at the same time. So you can see now 310 still accelerating a tiny bit, but it's probably not going to get to the very maximum. Surely not with any maneuver margin left. So, if ATC asked you to accelerate a bit right now, then you could just tell them, yeah, we're trying to. So, nonetheless, quite some good performance here. I guess eventually it will settle around 300 knots true airspeed. At level 310. Not as high or as fast as the Honda jet goes, but then again, if you think about, well, this. Just having a single engine up here, of course. That is quite a good performance after all. Especially when you think about that the majority of owners of this aircraft will have a private pilot license, probably with an instrument rating and with a single engine turbine rating on it. But after all, they will probably still be private pilots, as this one is not designed for the charter market, but actually for the owner market. And if you think about the typical owners of an airplane like this, like dentists or doctors or maybe lawyers, Of course, the rather rich side of those. But this plane is meant as a step into the world of jets, for pilots who have previously flown single-engine piston aircraft. So I would say that is quite a step up there if you're going into an airplane like this. See the fan of the jet up here. Nice animation. And Frank, will the working title G3000 show the top of descent yet, or is that coming? It does show you the top of descent. Oh, it starts reducing its thrust, so 301. 300? Yeah, around 300 knots at the service ceiling. Fuel flow up here, 57 gallons per hour, 58, let's say 60. Maximum fuel is 250 gallons, so range around 3 hours. If we have a look in the system displays now, then no, not here, but here, aircraft systems, engine and fuel. Oh, lovely, it's not calculating anything. But I think I know why. I forgot to do the initialization on the ground. That's probably the reason why. So, pilot error, that we don't see anything up there. Pilot error. Where do we find it again? Utilities, initialization. Yes, we know the database, we know the systems. No, I'm not gonna do a stick shaker test up here, especially not a stick pusher test. So, that's probably it. And now let's go back into the systems. Engine and fuel. Yeah, that's better. But as you can see, 970 miles, and we did not refuel on the ground, so something in the region between 900 and 1,245, the latter being the maximum cited by the aircraft manufacturer. So that overall looks quite okay to me. It does have some very basic VNAV, we saw that on the way in already. I probably can't show you anymore because we are currently hopelessly above the profile due to my attempt to show you the service ceiling. But nonetheless, let's do a little bit of setup here. We got LNAV minima 620, and then I'll show you a rapid descent in a few moments. So 620, barrow, enter. Speed box, we'll put the landing box on, the takeoff box off. And the timer, well, that can just continue to run. Okay, 301. That seems about the best we're gonna get up here. At the current weight. Of course, if you had a couple passengers on board, currently we don't, so we're pretty much flying empty with only a pilot. Well, and a co-pilot. But if you had some passengers on board, of course it would fly a bit slower since it would be heavier. But you get the idea of the performance it's capable of. So, Mosoto, tactical descent like in a space shuttle. Yeah, you name it. That's actually what we're about to do. Cloud action, so not the best plane to fly from Europe to the Canary Islands. Well, at least not without a stop in southern Spain, or in Portugal. And Frank, is this new fork-tailed the Doctor Killer? Well, yeah, it is. Okay. So we can see our destination is pretty much coming up right over there, so we can see we're pretty high right now. But this thing got quite an amazing rate of descent if you only ask for it. So let's do that now. We'll put the altitude down, let's say 20,000 initially. Set. Let's go level change. And we'll want to fly 0.50. Like this. It's very smoothly reducing thrust. Look like how you can barely see the thrust lever moving. Let alone how you can barely see the thrust change. Really doing a lot for pilots and passenger comfort here. But now down we go. You will be surprised by how quick this airplane can actually descend. Of course, typical descent rates would be either 1,500, 2,000 or 2,500, depending on the amount of pitch down that you actually want to experience. But just to show you what happens when that engine is at idle. Still reducing right now. We're still showing a couple percentage up here. Frank, fastest way to descend is pull the lever in the ceiling. Oh yes. Well, if we pulled this, yeah, we would go down fast. But I'm not sure if you're even supposed to pull it at cruise level. I mean, if an engine fails, normally you would not just pull the lever. Normally you try to land it as normal. For example, if you just starved your engine of fuel, then you might very well just refuel the airplane and it would be airworthy again. Versus if you pull the caps, then well, that thing is going to go into maintenance. Right, so look at this. Almost 3,000 feet a minute that we're getting there. And we can make it go down even quicker. Let's go to vertical speed and go 5,000 feet a minute. 10 degrees nose down, that's the maximum it's going to give us. So around about 4,500 feet a minute. Of course, looking from the outside, that looks strange, doesn't it? And it probably wouldn't be very nice for the passengers as well. Like, if we just go all the way to the back right now, imagine your little child sitting here and, you know, seeing this, looking outside. You barely see the sky in front of you. Actually, you don't see it at all. This is all water. So the sky is somewhere over here, the horizon. But it can maintain this rate of descent with a 10 degrees nose down with the engine in idle pretty much all the way. Look at this. It's barely gaining speed anymore. Of course, we don't want to do this for too long, so we'll just let it level off at 20,000. Auto throttle should start doing something now. Come on. You are below your target speed. You want to capture it. Right? Right? Good job, auto throttle. What happens if we put it off and on again? Yeah, now it increases thrust. And we want quite a bit more. 0.52. Back to a maximum. Okay, so we can see this plane has no problems to descend whatsoever. The only problem that you will of course have, while you can get your aircraft down, you have to be very careful with the cabin over here. So your cabin can of course descend quite quick as well, 500 feet a minute, but you don't want it to go much faster, otherwise it'll just start to hurt in your ears. Okay, let's take a shortcut direct to jump down maybe. Direct to insert, and here we go. According to the chart, we want to be at 3,800 at Jumda. Okay. Then Woli 3,300. Nabak 2,200. And you can give me some VNAV data, please. No? I guess it doesn't like the fact that we are flying direct to a waypoint on the approach. Let's just go heading select for a second. Airplane, why are you turning? Well, now the approach at least is active, I guess. Yep. Okay, direct to Jumda. Let's try that once more. And now we also get some VNAV data. Nice. Only took like ages to get there, and I'm pretty sure that's not correct behavior. Anyway, 5-degree angle, 2,400 feet a minute required. And now look how easy it can do that. So, cruise checks are pretty much done with. Let's do the descent checks. Thrust lever as required. Field elevation, 49 feet is checked. Even though I am surprised the cabin is not descending right now, because if that's going on the way it is right now, then that cabin is never going to be on the ground by the time our aircraft is on the ground. So, pressurization system does seem to need a bit more work there. Noise protection off, altimeters. $3001 set. Seats and seatbelts are secure. Descent checklist complete. What's VNAV saying? Probably telling us to descend a bit quicker. Yep, 2,700 feet a minute. It can have that. The VNAV button itself is currently not simulated, so keep that in mind. And let's update that direct once more, and back to nav mode. For the speed, according to a couple of Vision Jet pilots from the manual, you basically want to keep that speed just below the barber pole. And that is something that I'm never going to complain about. If you can fly fast, we do fly fast. Steven, it descends quickly so that when ATC yells at you for doing Mach 0.3 at level 300, you can't you can get down lower fast. Yeah. That's a good point, my friend. That's a good point. But look at the speed that it can actually do. Currently we're doing 270, we can go 285. Of course we are meant to go that quick. But you know, the good thing about what we're doing right now is that we are staying way above the inbound traffic of San Francisco. So we can see we're going right over the Bay Area here. And San Francisco Airport is just up here, below the clouds. So at least we're not interfering with any traffic here. Of course, for passenger comfort, you would never ever want to do this. But, I mean, We're just flying it ourselves, so which passengers are gonna complain to us at all? Right, let's get the speed back. (240) vertical speed, and oh well, it helps if you select the altitude down first and then go VS. So something like this, 2,000 feet a minute. You can see it's still 5 degrees nose down pitch, but that makes the airplane pretty flyable if you ask me. Also, lovely weather, isn't it? A little bit of dust there. Looks really nice in the mountains in front. What's VNAV saying now? 3,600 required. Well, I doubt it. Or rather, I doubt that we are actually going to fly that. After jump, now we go to Woolley. 3,300 in 6 miles, so we can certainly stay a little bit higher up here. That shouldn't be much of a problem. And cloud action, the cabin stays high. Yeah, it just started to descend, so that is gonna take it like what, 16 minutes to get the cabin down? And what's my zoom doing right now? That's better. So yeah, definitely some room for improvement on the pressurization system. On the way up it worked quite nice as far as I remember. And we're joining the final. Let's try to see. Just give me a VNAV direct, 2,300 feet a minute, okay. Let's do 2,500 then. And let's see if we can reduce our airspeed at the same time, because it was still adding a bit of thrust there. So, 140 knots. Man, this thing got quite a bit of drag. And we're getting below the VNAV path. Let's help it a little. Alright. Approach checklist. Approach briefing. Where's the click spot? Complete, seats upright, ice protection off, lights on, and holding at the flaps. So, second try for the RNAV approach. 3,300 at Woolley is what we're supposed to have, and what we will have. Let's see how the RNAV is gonna work this time. Down to Maverick, 2,100 feet. And I guess since that is marked as the final approach fix, after that we'll get guidance. So 1,000 feet a minute required, 1,000 feet a minute it gets. A little bit of trouble slowing down here. Idle thrust, 1,000 feet a minute, but it's coming back nicely. Slowly but nicely. So after this landing, we will just do one more takeoff, and on that one I'm going to demonstrate you the engine failure. And yeah, that cabin altitude is messed over, but if I'm totally honest, since it doesn't kill my ears in the flight simulator, I will probably not care too much about getting that cabin down properly before we get down to the landing. So I'll just let it be like this, and when the outflow valve opens on landing, that is gonna get our cabin right down. Okay, approach mode armed. And we're approaching the glide path here. Five miles out. Let's reduce our speed further. We have glide path capture. We'll go down all the way to landing speeds, or rather approach speed, 94 knots. Flaps 50%. Watch him coming down over here, and they're at 50%. Missed approach altitude, 4,000. Set. Gear down. Flaps full. And the rest of the checklist. Landing gear down locked, flaps full, cabin differential pressure ignored, windshield heat switch off, and standing by for the autopilot. Alright, so this time it looks like the G3000 is actually doing a pretty good job at getting us down. This time we do have vertical guidance available, and looking outside, that actually doesn't look too bad. So that looks alright. Alright, so we're gonna do this one, taxi back to the runway, do another takeoff, and from that one we are then going to do the engine failure. I just love to see it from the outside right now. The plane's doing a pretty good job, really smooth steering, altitude does seem to look quite fine looking out at the runway. Alright. Well,
Don't shake. Don't shake.
how about you just shut down?
Don't shake. Don't shake.
I was just saying something good about that plane. The next moment I head back to the cockpit, don't sink, don't sink.
Don't shake. Don't
Can we
shake.
cancel that somehow?
Don't shake. Don't shake. Don't shake. Don't shake. Don't
Please
shake.
tell me it's gonna stop eventually.
Don't shake. 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 Don't shake.
Silence, finally. Alright, and we're down. So, time to taxi back. Another 52 minutes on the timer. And then we're gonna do the real interesting stuff, aka the engine failure. Cloud action, nice depressurization rate after that landing. If I'm honest, I didn't see it, but I can imagine it must have been very high. Basically what happens is, you touch the ground, the outflow valve opens, and at that moment, the aircraft pretty much immediately depressurizes. So, trying to go as quick as possible. You do need to maintain a little bit of thrust in order to maintain your speed while taxiing. Which does seem quite accurate over here. So, we go pretty much all the way straight. Like, just give me this. Thank you very much. It's always incredible how quick those 30 knots actually are when you're sitting down low to the ground. Like in the 737 you go 30 knots and you're like, yeah, okay, it's a decent speed. But in here you go 30 knots and you're like, man, am I in a racing car right now? Well, and then of course you sit in the A310 and you're like, this is 30 knots? We are going slow. Right, approaching the taxiway. 10 knots maximum for the turn. And here we are. Okay, reset that timer. So, 120 knots is the best glide speed. I would say we climb up to maybe 3,000 or 4,000 feet above the field before we actually do fail our engine. Jordan, do we have more flights today? Well, at least not right now. I might do another live stream later on, but that is not 100% sure yet. Okay, clear left and clear right. Okay, so I would say the plan is we stay in the airport area, climb up to 4,000 feet, and then we are gonna fail that engine. Let's go. Timing. Set takeoff thrust. Takeoff thrust set, indications normal. $80 knots. Rotate. Gear up. Path of freight. Flaps up. $140 knots shall be the target for now. MCT is set. Nice rate of climb here. 2,500 feet a minute. One to go. I'll just keep the rate up high for now. Target speed 120, we can preset that already. Okay, let's level off, fly ourselves over at the airport. And then we'll start a maneuver from there. There's our field down there. Okay, then let's see if Cirrus built any protections in, or if we can just shut it down. We can just shut it down. Okay, engine failure. 120 knots, best glide speed. Or so they say in the manual. Let's see what we get. 800 feet a minute rate of descent. A little bit more right now. So let's try to fly a proper traffic pattern now. From this. This is much too quiet for my liking. Much too quiet. And Mosoto, I wonder if in real life the engine core would heat lock. Well, depends on the engine. Probably not. There are a couple aircraft that do that, but the majority of them doesn't. That's quite far out. It probably looks worse than it is because we're flying at a much higher speed than what I'm used to when gliding. Time to turn base. We're doing pretty much a constant rate of descent, so I pretty much flew the base and the downwind, or the upwind and the downwind lag, so that we ended up at almost 2,000 feet by the time we started our base turn. And now we have options that we can shortcut over here, or that we can slightly overshoot if we are coming in high. Okay, let's see what Flaps 50 is gonna do. So that looks quite alright. Just trying to get a bit closer before we drop the gear. Gear down. The important thing is not to lower the gear until you're 100% sure that you can and will make the field. Flaps full. The same goes for the flaps, of course. And here we are. Right on the keys, please. Yep. Perfect. Right, and that's it. That's the engine failure. It glides pretty well, well controllable. Overall, pretty nice to fly this airplane. And Jeff L, did you do any stalls in this thing yet? No, I didn't. Alright, cool. So, that shall be it for today's live stream for now. Thank you very much for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed this one. And I'm looking forward very much to the next live stream. Antler, is this aircraft available today for Microsoft Flight Simulator? Yes, it is. It's just been released, I think yesterday evening. Alright, cool. So, thank you very much for flying, everyone. Maybe see you later today. I don't quite know yet, but there could be a good chance that I might do another live stream today. Not sure if I'm going to feature the Vision Jet on that or another aircraft, because I am currently practicing with the MD-82, as you guys have voted on the channel. So the MD-82 won that one, and I am practicing with it now, and once I got it like halfway up to standard, then I'm gonna feature it on the stream for you guys. For now, thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. As always, like, comment, and subscribe. And if you do want to support the channel, you can do it through either the Buy Me Coffee link that you can find in the video description below, or maybe just through some of the super features that YouTube offers, like the Super Thanks or Super Chat. Any of those is much appreciated. But for now, thank you very much for watching, everyone, and I'm looking forward to welcome you all again on the next one.